Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jewish Film Institute 40th Anniversary Hanukkah celebration. My name is Margherita Ghetti, and I am the Next Wave programmer at JFI. Next Wave is our community of millennials and Gen Z film lovers, and we get together for screenings and conversations about how to navigate friendship, love, community, and culture through a Jewish lens. Next Wave is supported in part by the Correct Foundation and the Maxine and Jack Zero Family Foundation, so we thank them for supporting our programs. I hope everyone has been enjoying these 8 days of illuminating events, film screenings, and conversations that JFI curated to honor 4 decades of independent vision and to recognize all of you, our supporters, and the vibrancy of our community. So I want to invite our Next Wave community to raise a glass and light a candle to 40 years of bringing Jewish storytelling to light. So it is now my pleasure to welcome to our virtual stage Yossi Attia, who you see here with us today, who plays the lead character of the film he wrote and also co-directed with David Ofek, Born in Jerusalem and Still Alive, which is our Next Wave spotlight. Hi, Yossi, welcome to JFI's 40th anniversary Hanukkah celebration.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you so much for being here and for this engaging and thought-provoking film and for bringing us on multiple tours of Jerusalem and all the humor and sense of love and friendship that you transmit in your film. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. We've been talking for a while and I've seen this film a few times. So I'm curious to learn more, as I'm sure our audience is. So this is your debut as a director of a feature film. And is this also your debut as an actor in a film?
Yes.
Okay, so you wrote, you directed, you co-directed and acted as the star of this film. So can you tell us a bit about your cinematic background and maybe also what was it like to play all these parts in the making of the film, to direct yourself?
I studied in Sam Spiegel Institute for 2 years. Then I did with a friend short satirical films that screen in a gallery and Pompidou Center, Rotterdam Film Festival. And after a while, I start to think about this idea. And I thought that I will direct and write and star in the film. It was not easy to convince the founds that I can do everything alone. So I brought David Ofek to the picture. And I decided to co-direct it with him. And it was a brilliant idea because it helped me to concentrate on acting on when we shoot the film. I let him to lead and just act and let myself be in the character.
Okay, I bet it was an interesting experience to have these dialogues about how to best act and interact with the other actors. And how did you find the other characters, the other actors for the film?
Simon Itamar is a good friend of mine. Lee Kornowski, the girl, we just found her through an agent and we did auditions. The same as the father. And Shohai, the Japanese tourist, we found him through a Japanese community in Jerusalem.
I see, interesting. And how was it to shoot the film on location and in the streets? Because it's interesting to see how there seem to be moments in which the crowd and people around you become aware of the camera, and were you just shooting the film without?
We decided to work in a small crew and give the documentary style of the film. and to shoot it on location without closing the street or something like this, or bring extras. Decided to do it naturally. And it's give the audience the opportunity to see real Jerusalem and real people.
Yeah, it does feel like a real tour of the city. I have never been. I feel like I know Jerusalem a little better now. I also wanted to ask you something about, so this idea of the film that you were talking about, it really feels like it's a film that it's based on personal memories. There's humor, there's darkness, there's playfulness, there's a lot of elements that felt real, like from real life, and your character and the characters around you end up feeling very familiar, like we know them in a way. So I wanted to know how you incorporated your personal experience in this much wider historical portrait of conflict and trauma.
The tour is based on my true memories from the time of the Intifada. The relationship with the father in the film are based on the relationship with my father. And the love story is things that of course, not exactly the same, but things that happened to me.
Okay, so they're based on things that you experienced.
Yeah, semi-autobiographic.
Autobiography. Did you live in Jerusalem? So this idea of your character mentions, wanting to overcome this fear and wanting to overcome these traumas, or these things that you witness in person?
Not exactly. I think that the character have his own trauma, his own problem, and he stay in Jerusalem. I left Jerusalem, so there's a difference between me and the character, but I give him the opportunity to live, to exist.
Okay, and it really feels, as you're saying, that the friendship that the character gains, like he's making new friends around and a new love, and then the way in which he's interacting with his father and kind of taking care of his father are all elements that help him heal in a way. And so I think these are all themes that are interesting, for our next wave audience in particular, like how friendship and love can really help us navigate historical times that are hard, as this has been a complicated year for most people. So I think it's a nice way to have these two layers of history and also intimate personal life.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So something that was very striking to me is also how, again, this intimate perspective that we've been talking about goes really well in your film with the way in which your character experiences living in Jerusalem, and he has to retell this story over and over again to tourists that come from all over the world. So there's a personal and Israeli perspective and point of view, but also a more global perspective. So there are many eyes on the story. And I wonder how the film has been received at home where you are, and how has been received abroad with this global perspective.
Unfortunately, because of the coronavirus, it's didn't release yet in the cinema in Israel. So I don't have the opportunity to see how audience, but there were a few screening in Jerusalem Film Festival, for instance, and it was, they felt, the audience come to me after and told me that they felt it's talking about them. They really felt intimacy with the film. Aboard, I didn't have the opportunity to see how audience, I don't know, in San Francisco, in Budapest, in Italy, see the film. So I don't know, but I hope that the humor is crossing culture and religion and people.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it's received. We obviously at the festival, we at JFI we love the film and we're screening it. So we'll let you know our audience receive it. It was, yeah, I'm really curious about, you know, the idea of showing people from all over the world, because in a way you already have your spectators inside the film, right? How did
Yes.
you come up with this international audience in the film?
International, the participating in the
Uh-huh.
film.
Yeah. Yeah.
We search a lot of time, all different kind of groups that give all kind of aspects for the film.
Okay. So it
There's a lot
was,
of foreigner in Israel, so it's more easy.
yeah. Yeah. So and I remember in one of the first scenes in the film that like the way you make it happen is that you're walking around and you see a group of tourists and then you come up
Yeah.
with the idea of the tourists. What I also loved, because you mentioned the humor, which I think in my personal experience, and I think for many of the viewers, creates this sense of familiarity. And I think one of the characters that gives us another very ironic perspective is the roommate, which I think you mentioned in real life is an actor and a friend. And he comes up with all this idea to monetize to make money and the merchandise. I thought it was one of the most, you know, uplifting and comical part was that.
Yeah. It was this purpose in the film to be the comic relief and the sidekick of the character. In real life, we are good friends, so I think it's come to the screen also.
Yeah, it's definitely there. What would you define the film in terms of genre? Because I know that when we read description of the film,
Yeah,
it's
it's black comedy and romantic comedy, a
romantic.
mix between romantic comedy and black comedy.
Yeah,
Because it's
I think
still a lot with death and horror. It's the dark side, and the romantic story is the romantic story.
yeah. So the two things um, go together. Um, it's also another word that comes to mind thinking about genre is how in the film you talk about and I think in the description of the film sometimes it's talked about the absurdity of daily life in
Second
Jerusalem and
part,
the terrorist attacks. So this element of the absurd, I was wondering if it's
I
also
really love the absurd. I think it's helps to deal with the life that sometimes seems to be absurd. And for instance, the table that he write, how many people died, if you can go to a date or to a beer, it's absurd because
yeah.
it's not regular. It's craziness in a way.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that element goes well also with the I always laughed a lot when you give the prize and you give the candy,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is which is your personal memory, but also yeah, it falls in the absurd um, in my experience. So maybe we can, you know, going toward the end of our Q&A, because in our audience there's a lot of young people and maybe, you know, film lovers, but also maybe aspiring filmmakers. I'm curious to know if, especially in 2020, which as you mentioned disrupted also the distribution of the film, and I'm sure kind of changed things also for you as a filmmaker, if you have any word for people like you that maybe go to film school or that aspire to make films, on what has been inspiring for you these days that can also serve our
I have to
audience.
say, unfortunately, I don't have a very optimistic word to say because it's very pessimistic and sad, the period for the film lovers all over the world. Of course, there's the online life of films, but I don't. I hope that cinema will come back and will be again a major role in cultural life.
Yeah, I think we've all felt that at times, and also, as you said, it's great to be able to recreate a sense of community and a sense of belonging through virtual events. How are things in Tel Aviv? Are you guys like not going to the movies at all? Are drive-ins?
Cinema is closed for the last 7 months, and there's not a lot of options otherwise.
Have you been able to work on stuff and be creative and be in touch with other people, or you're kind of taking a break and maybe rewatching old movies?
I try to rewrite nowadays a script. It's not easy, and that's it.
Okay, it's a more quiet, reflective period. Are you working on? So you're working on anything new? Where can we?
I don't have a title or something that I can share with our audience. Meantime, I hope maybe next year.
Okay, but there's something brewing. Something is happening.
Yeah, something is happening.
Good. Okay, we look forward to hearing more about that. And yeah, we are excited about having you here. So thank you so much for
Thank you very much,
participating.
and I hope all the audience enjoyed the film and our conversation. And it's
Yeah.
honored to be part of your festival and to be participate and with the film.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, it's a special year for us, as I was mentioning. We're celebrating JFI's 40th anniversary, and we really look forward to showing more of your films and letting you know how the audience received the film, and also
please.
hopefully have you come to San Francisco in person and get to have another conversation in person. So thank you, Yossi. Thank you to all our viewers, our audience, our community. We're happy that you're here with us to celebrate this special year for JFI, and we hope that you enjoy the 8 days of programs and conversations that we're curating for all of you. So bye-bye and see you all very soon. Thank you, Yossi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.